رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي. Okay guys, filmmakers, those people who love to watch movies, directors, editors, those people who love literature, those people who love to read stories, novels, please you've got to see this one. Look, this is a sample. This is an example I'm going to give you from the Qur'an of how beautifully Qur'an produces and captures movie scenes and pieces of literature. You have got to follow me. This, if you don't, I really need you to look at the way the Qur'an has filmed this scene and the content of it, as well as the way it uses the camera angles. So what I'm going to do is, this is basically an example of the Qur'an, or giving the example of the deeds of the disbelievers. So first, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put this scene in front of you, and I hope, of course, I'm going to do it through the translation. So I hope I give it its fair share. And then after I show you the way the cameras are working, after I put the scene, then I'm going to put a kind of a challenge in front of you to and ask you if you've ever seen any film, any scene in a movie like this. So please focus with me. Let's start off. This is Surah An-Nur, chapter 24, verse 39 in front of you, as you can see. And look at how the camera works. This is a scene in a desert. Now look at the way the camera starts. As for the disbelievers, look at the way now the cameras. The deeds are like a mirage. Now the camera, if you can see in front of you, it's like a mirage. And the camera is focusing on a desert. It's a desert scene. You can imagine, and there's a mirage in front of you. It's like, you know what a mirage is, right? It's like a fake water body in the desert that you see because of whatever the science is, the light, sunlight. You see a fake. The camera is focusing on this mirage, right? Now, of course, this is a difficult scene, right? The heat of the desert and all that difficult situation. It's a very difficult scene. What happens? Suddenly, now the camera suddenly turns from the mirage towards a person who's thirsty, a person who's dying from thirst in his desert, the heat of the desert. Imagine the way the camera suddenly switched from a mirage all the way towards a person who's thirsty. Now the scene has gotten even more intense. Before it was only a mirage. Now there's somebody is thirsty in a desert. It becomes more intense. Suddenly what happens? This person looks. Now this camera goes back to the mirage. He looks at this mirage, and he is having this false hope that this mirage is actually an oasis. It's water. So look, now he's getting a false hope. The scene is getting even more intense. Now look what happens. But when they approach it, oh my God, now it's getting even more intense and painful, because the person is now moving towards, he's now working hard, moving, walking, just struggling towards this water body because he's thirsty. Now it's getting more and more intense. You see the intensity is kind of increasing. Oh my God, look at it. They find it to be nothing. Oh my God. The pinnacle, the peak of intensity. They reach there, dying of thirst, and suddenly there's nothing over there. Look at the way it's showing this intense film, which is getting even more and more and more intense. First, it's only a mirage. But then you realize there's a thirsty person behind that mirage. Then you see, no, he's moving towards, struggling towards it. And finally, when they reach it, there's nothing. Oh my God. The intensity is increasing. And not only that, it's not over here. Instead, they find Allah there. It's in the bracket, in the hereafter, ready to settle their account. Oh my God. When he reaches there, and Allah is swift in reckoning. When he reaches there, he finds someone who is asking him to return back his loan or return back his rights. It gets even more intense. He's already struggling to survive, and now for example, the police come and arrest him. It gets even more intense. Can you imagine? The scene is getting more and more and more intense. Now, what I want you to imagine is, this is not the end of the imagination. The very next verse. Now look, you're gonna be surprised the way the camera twists. This is something in the light, right? It's a scene in a desert where there's a lot of light and there's somebody dying of thirst. Look what happens. Suddenly, oh my God, the camera switches. And let me switch the light here as well. Let me switch. Suddenly, suddenly the camera, look, oh my god, can you imagine the way the camera, or their deeds are like the darkness. Suddenly the camera switches and goes into dark mode, and you're seeing darkness in front of you. Where are you? As if that wasn't intense enough, being in a dark area, in a deep sea. My god, you don't even have land to stand upon. You're like in a sea, in a ship somewhere. You're inside the ocean. It's deep sea. Oh my god, the intensity just increased from darkness. First of all, you came from light to darkness, then from darkness into a sea. Then, as if that wasn't enough, you're covered in waves. It becomes even more dark. You're covered with waves. The camera is now showing those waves. As if that wasn't intense enough, upon waves, upon even more waves. Oh my god, the intensity is increasing. Oh my god, if that wasn't enough, topped by dark clouds. Oh my god, if that darkness wasn't enough, the camera suddenly now moves towards the sky. Now it's showing the sky. There are dark clouds over there. So the intensity increased from darkness into a sea, no land. Then you're covered with waves. Then more waves. And then upon that you have clouds. Oh my god, if that wasn't enough, the camera now just backs up and shows all these layers of darkness. Darkness is darkness upon darkness. If that wasn't enough to show you the intensity of the darkness, the camera suddenly focuses on one person. Oh my god, you realize there's somebody inside that darkness. What? And then if one stretches out his own hand, look at the intensity of the darkness. They can hardly see it. Oh my god, so dark and so intense. The scene is getting intense and intense. So what I've shown you right now is two scenes. Look at the amazing film work here, amazing camera work here, and amazing storyline. This scene, the previous scene that I've shown you here, this was in the light. I'll put it in light again just to create an effect. You could see it's in the light. It's getting intenser. The deeds are like a mirage. Okay, if a mirage wasn't enough, there's a thirsty person, gets even more intense. If that wasn't enough, he's trying to go towards it. If that wasn't enough, the intensity increases. It becomes he finds nothing. And then on top of that, there's someone there to grab him, and it's basically there's police there to basically ask him for his right, basically to punish him. Oh subhanallah. And then the exact same tone goes on in the darkness. When you go to the very next verse, subhanallah, there's darkness, but then the darkness increases. There's a deep sea. Then it's covered with waves. There are more waves. Gets more dark, and then gets more dark, and then it gets so dark that he can't even see his own hand. He hardly can see it. Subhanallah. Have you ever seen two scenes in a film? The same scene starting off with an intensity and increasing, and suddenly the camera flips. Starts another scene which itself starts increasing in intensity, then increases. But that's not enough. Let me show you the master film work that's going on in here. Subhanallah. Let me just show you this picture. Check this picture out. These two pictures. This was the desert. I have just to give you an image, I'm presenting these two pictures. You can take any picture from the internet. A desert, and this on your right, a dark storm, right? Just imagine. Okay, now look at this. Look at this beauty. The Qur'an didn't just flip camera from one scene to another scene. It wasn't just random flip. It was so mind-blowing. Just imagine what I'm about to show. Think about what's going on behind these two scenes. The first scene is a scene in intense light, the desert light. The next scene is in intense darkness, the darkness of the ocean. This scene, imagine this. This is extreme light. This is extreme darkness. This scene devoid of any water. There is so much dryness. This scene is full of water, waves upon waves upon waves. This scene, the person sees water in the farthest of horizons. In this scene, he is in himself enveloped inside the water. In this scene, he sees something in the horizons, in distance. And in this scene, he sees something very close to him. Tries to see something very close to him, his own hand. In this scene, something in the furthest of horizons, he sees it as real while it is fake, the water body. In this scene, he's trying to see something very close to him, which he can hardly see, but it's actually real. Subhanallah. Can you imagine These two scenes, it wasn't just a random switch of the camera, it was actually two very opposite scenes. And now even something more greater, amazing, both these scenes are defining the same exact kind of person, a bad person, a disbeliever, his actions. Imagine something opposite, light, dark, intensity of water, intensity of lack of water, two opposite things. You would imagine they're showing two opposite things, somebody who's very successful, somebody who's very who has failed, someone who's highly successful and someone who is highly failed, or something where is something that is very high, something where that is very low. But these scenes are being very opposite to each other, yet they're defining the same exact disbeliever or his action or his actions. They may have a bit of differences, but they're still defining a bad person. They're still in the bad category of it, right? Subhanallah. Now what I want you guys to focus on is, look at this. It's not like, subhanallah, you just saw all these scenes, right? From light to darkness, from no water to water. We saw all these scenes. You saw the intensity increasing in both things. It wasn't just a random camera switch. It wasn't just a random film being shown to us. Subhanallah. Look, they have their own understanding. There is their own tafsir, etc., right? How the disbelievers, they do that. It might have, look, you can go and read the tafsir. This, the first is talking about something, the non-believers doing good deeds, thinking that they're going to get the reward in the hereafter for that, while when they go there they get nothing. And in the second one, it has its own tafsir. You can read it, whatever its tafsir is. It might be something like the disbelievers being drowned in the darknesses and not being able to see the right way. All of this. But this is not what I'm trying to show you. What I'm trying to show you is the language, the filmography, the way it has captured these two amazing opposite scenes, yes, yet talking about the bad people. And the way it has filmed it, the way it has shown these horror-filled scenes, and used words to describe them to a person. And now imagine when these tafasirs, these explanations of the Qur'an were not written. Or even today, if somebody picks up this book and has never read any tafsir, imagine the effect these words would have, somebody who understands the Arabic language would have upon him, the deep effect these words would have upon him. This is what I want us to realize. And today, that even though it has its own tafsirs, etc., we need to realize the Quran is a lot for us. For example, I've shown you the different angles of the Quran. Their linguistics, scientific miracles, numerical miracles, all these things. This is something that creates an attraction for people who love literature, prose, poetry, filmography, who are interested in the film industry. It captures their attention. The Quran is putting an amazing scene in words. It's presenting amazing scenes through words. That's the beauty of it. And see, this is my purpose. I think you can hardly find any film or any movie in which a camera switches from a scene to another scene with such amazing correlations between them. You'll hardly find such films, right? I don't think it's even possible to find such a film scene. It's amazing. And see, this is my purpose of presenting these things, to show you that the Quran is a live book. It's always alive. It's always relevant. It will never become irrelevant to us, no matter what time you live in, no matter what field you belong to. And this is my purpose. I want to bring in this lively background, this lively perspective of the Quran, and show you that and I want to build this utmost conviction in all of in our hearts that the Quran cannot be except from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It cannot be but a divine book, so that we create so much conviction in our hearts, not only that the non-Muslims turn to Islam, but also Muslims create so much conviction that Islam becomes the dominant force on this planet Earth. It rules over this entire earth, not simply because it just took over. No, because it's the ultimate truth. There can be nothing but Islam. There can be nothing that produces ultimate good on this planet except the religion of Islam. So I want the Islam to become the dominant religion on this entire planet, to dominate. And I want Muslims themselves, to have conviction that this book cannot be but a divine book. So may Allah give us that extreme complete conviction in the Qur'an as the word of God. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.